Hello. So I am back again with another episode. So I am Naomie Lebe, your student union president. I am here with a new student. We're about to hear a new student life journey, in other words. And guys, I just realized that yesterday when I was doing this whole radio and YouTube stuff, I didn't actually give a name to this new podcast, the new segment. Okay, so we will call this Touchdown with Subu. Okay, Touchdown with Subu. I love it. Simple, straightforward, and yeah. So today I have a new student, like I said. Please let us know your name.
I'm Emily. I'm a third year multimedia journalism student.
Wow, I love it. Welcome to the Touchdown, Emily.
Thank you.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Right?
It flows really nicely.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I actually love it. Oh, Shannon, yeah. I love it so much. So, like I said yesterday, these segments are just to sit down with students and hear the stories and just to understand how they have dealt with certain issues within university, Bournemouth University I should say, and also what advice they would advise themselves if they were to go to uni again, specifically Bournemouth University again. So as she has said already, her name is Emily. So I'll just like to start off by asking you, how has your university journey been like?
It's been crazy because of course the pandemic came right halfway through my first year and then was around for like my second year.
Yeah.
So it was very odd. No one thought kind of when we first came to uni that this was what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
Or that, halfway through we're going to get sent home and do basically a year online.
Yeah.
But it's been really good, like despite everything. Like I've had so much fun, I made so many memories. And of course like there were the moments when like we were like, are we actually going to get back to uni? Are we going to actually be able to work through this? Like how is my assignments going to work? How is like my practical skills going to work? But it all kind of came together really well, and kind of we've had since September now kind of the normality back. It's been really nice to kind of go through that experience, kind of learn from that, and we've learnt more skills doing that than I probably would have had if we hadn't been sent home.
That is so crazy. You were actually the first person that I've met, right, that went through the whole pandemic in the first year, and now you are in your third year. Like, honestly, this is actually your first time on campus, right?
Well, I had like September till
but I guess March. Like your first consistent journey on campus, like that is so crazy. That is mind-blowing. I feel like I haven't spoken to anyone with that journey at all, so this is very new. When the pandemic first started, I was in my final year, so of course I had the journey of like being on campus and things like that. I'm so glad that you managed to maneuver within that space, because it was horrible, and you're still here, smashing it. I love it, so within like the pandemic, how did you survive that? Like, did you use any services within the university? Do you know who to go to? Like, how did you deal with that whole thing?
Yeah, so kind of in the March we all kind of were told, it's best to kind of go home, and we all kind of went home. Everything was kind of up in the air and no one really knew who to turn to. So my first thing was I went to my lecturer as like my academic advisor and was like, I don't feel great. Like I felt really trapped because we're in lockdown, and like I'm not someone that works off like just being by myself. I like having people around me. So I struggled kind of with that element, and being at home was quite difficult because I have quite a large family, and so it was the Wi-Fi was going wrong, and it's just one of those like nothing seemed to go right. And so kind of I went to my lecturers and was like, in terms of like what I'm doing in like my actual like uni stuff, I was like, I need help. And then also like because I wasn't feeling great, because like I knew that like I just didn't really want to do anything really. It was kind of, I think I got into that kind of not depressive mindset, but kind of like nothing felt. I was like, what's the point?
You didn't have no motivation.
Yeah, and so I went to a couple of the wellbeing services, and they gave me some advice, and then I have an ALS tutor because I'm dyslexic, and they were like, well, these are things you can do, and Cebu and Facebook were putting out quite a lot of like these things to help yourselves, and a lot of those kind of handy tips and tricks, which helped out quite a lot, because it was there. Like I went on Facebook, it wasn't something I was looking for, and then when I saw it, I was like, okay, this helps, this works. Whereas like, because I didn't really want to go looking for it, because I didn't really think there was like much, like I didn't realise that it was really much of a problem. So when I was seeing that, I was like, oh, I relate to this. it made sense that like,
Yeah.
okay, these are things I need to help myself. So it's quite good having those sorts of things that you weren't actively looking for, that you were just
But it was
seeing.
just there, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so great. I feel like it is always hard to try and pinpoint where are all the students hanging out, you know, on the social media world, like where are they? And I think that's one thing that, you know, the comms team within the university and to be quite struggled with quite a lot. So it is great to hear that, you know, you just stumbled across something on Facebook and that was quite helpful for you. So guys, you know, what I'm hearing is be using all your social media platform. Okay, thank you. So I would just like to also, you know, have some follow-up questions here, and I just want to sort of like know, how did you if you struggled moving from home, when you finally actually moved from home and you consistently stayed within campus, how was that transition for you? Because I guess this is like your first experience moving from home in your final year.
Yeah. So kind of in my first year, it was quite quick, and of course like it was like 6-7 months, but then even then I went home like a couple of times, not a lot. But then, because I came back to Bournemouth in March of last year during the pandemic and was living by myself for most of that time, worked through the summer down here. I was away from home pretty much since March.
Yeah.
So I had all of that kind of time to kind of adjust. But then coming into uni, like actually doing stuff, like when I was working, it was like, you know, I was busy, but I wasn't really thinking about home. Whereas like now I'm at uni, it was like, oh, I kind of would want to go home for a little bit, but I haven't really had the chance to go home much. I went home last week for one night, and that was it. And it was just like a spur of the moment. I was like, I'm just going to go up to see my parents. They're going away for a couple of weeks. And it's been quite weird, because like I don't actually want to be at home, but I miss being at home. It's things like, you know, I come in and I've been at uni all day and like no one's there cooking me dinner, which sounds so like, you know, I've got to do it myself now. It's like, it's quite weird, because it's the small things you don't think you're gonna miss, or like just like when I don't know what to do, or I'm feeling a bit lost, like I can call my mum, I can text her, but she's not there to like give me a hug and be like, everything's okay. So it's that kind of the small little things I think I miss the most, and that I've missed like when I've not been at uni. It's been those little things that you kind of take for granted. And it's like, I just didn't think like I'd miss like having my mum to go to physically, or like my dad, that I miss more than kind of like being at home. So
I feel you. So in your first year, for like 6-7 months, you spend that time on campus, right? And now you're living in a student accommodation. So how was that sort of transition for you, in terms of like dealing with landlords, paying for your bills and stuff like that? Like, how has that been like?
We got scammed.
Oh my gosh.
It was awful. Like, so we found a house, me and my friends found a house in like December time of my first year. And then of course, like 3 months later, we were like, we're even gonna be able to go. And so we had everything set up. So we moved back in that September, and we all moved in. But it was only like 3 of us were there. The other 3 didn't really come back. And it was great. And then we got put in lockdown again in November, and it was just 3 of us again. And then we went home for Christmas, got put in lockdown again, and then I came back myself in March, and it was just me until like June. And like this year, like I then moved in with another group of friends, and as a private landlord it was great, everything was really easy sailing, until we were trying to sort out getting our deposit back and our bills and stuff.
It's always a deposit, guys. Always a deposit.
They took half our deposit for things like that. We like, they had apparently had a cleaner for 4 days, and we were like,
what?
Sorry, apparently like outside windows and bits, and we were like, how are we supposed to clean those? We can't even get out the windows. And just really just silly things. And then we stupidly made a decision to go with like one of like the gas companies, like splits the bill for you. And it was, each of us were paying £60 a month. And then they were like, you'll get money back. And we got maybe like £100 back each. And we're looking at like, so what we spent, the equivalent of like 10 months, we're looking at like 40 quid each.
Oh my god.
Don't go with Blige or any of those companies. I'm begging you, do not do it. Don't do it.
Oh my goodness. I feel like they just love to scam you. And so when I first moved out with a group of friends, one thing that we did do, as soon as we moved in, we took pictures, because we had a private landlord as well. So you think having a private landlord, one great thing about it is most of the time the houses are great, and they are quite fast in like, you know, responding back to you and things like that. But when it comes to the end of it all, that's where they just become scams, literally. Scammers, in other words. So with me, we took pictures of the house first of all, and then when it came to the end, they started talking about how the house how the house was really clean when we first came in and all of that stuff, which was a lie. When we first moved in, we took pictures because we were so shocked of how the house looked. The house was questionable. We had to clean. I did not unpack until I bleached the whole entire house, but then they were trying to say, oh, how the house was clean and all of that stuff, and it took a while for us to find the evidence again, because obviously you've been living there for months and months and months. You've taken so many pictures. So guys, if you were to move out, please take a picture and save it on, I don't know, PowerPoint document or something, so that way it doesn't take you too long to find these proof. So after that, when we send across the proof and things like that, date, time, and then that we also showed when we also moved in, to show that this was at the same time. We moved in on this day, this was when we took the pictures.
All I want to say is that they don't really care about us.
And they don't care about students, and that is just so sad. And I think that the government really needs to step in when it comes to stuff like this, because
there's no regulation for it at all. There's like some things that like legally they have to do and like stuff in your contract, but like realistically, like if they don't meet certain expectations, especially like they play off naivety. They know that we don't know what we're doing. They know that we're not really sure. And so when we went through my first one, which was with a company, they recommended us to use like the split bill one, which of course was extortionate. But we're like, oh yeah, they're telling us to do it, it's probably the best option. Whereas realistically, they would probably getting like commission or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we were then like, oh yeah, cool, if they're recommending it, it'll probably be great. No. And there was like really like scrapping together money, because I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna pay rent and bills and food and live and have a social life.
How did you survive with that?
Budgeting, a lot of it was budgeting, and it was like you know, it was quite good because of course it was the 10 p.m. curfew and then lockdown, so we couldn't really go out, we couldn't really go anywhere, so of course we were saving money that way, but then we were wanting to drink in the house and stuff, and I remember I was like, right, I can't do Netflix no more, can't have Disney Plus.
Need to cut it all.
I was like, do you know what, if one of my friends wants to lend me it, I'll borrow them. Apart from that, not doing that. It was quite difficult, and then of course I am celiac, so I can't eat gluten. So all my food then is usually like free from, which is more expensive. So I'm like, I've got to think about that my weekly shop is probably like £8 to £10 more expensive than a normal person's. So it's like I've got to factor that into it as well, and it was just one of those like really awkward situations. It was like Christmas coming up, and I was like,
oh my gosh,
people are just going to be getting like hugs for Christmas this year, and like
literally, you know, like, you're just gonna get all my love, okay? That's
I'm
enough.
here, that's good enough.
Exactly.
Come home for Christmas.
Right, exactly. It makes sense. No, I can't believe, you know, I feel like so many students go through these experiences, and it is horrible, but one thing that I do have to say is it does teaches you how to budget. Not that, you know, it is right for any student to go through this, because they do take advantage of students not knowing enough, and especially around the area, so perhaps there could be a lot more education around that within the university, or you know, perhaps the student union ourselves as well, we can do something, and I know that there is a lot out there on it, but it is always hard to try and engage with students to understand the importance of it. I think a lot of students don't understand the importance of it in the first year until they go through it. I
didn't think, like, I was like, first year, you know what, like, kind of sort out my loan, like I didn't have to worry about bills because it was just pools, and like wasn't really anything I was worried about. And then as soon as you go into like second year, and like everything, you know, you have to stay on top of paying your bills, stay on top of like measuring them as well, and make sure everything's like where it should be and things like that. And I did not think I was going to be in a position where I was going to have to budget myself so strictly. I was like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm pretty good with money, and I was pretty good with money until we made that one mistake that meant all 6 of us were like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this?
Like, I remember, I think, so after my first year, I had to save up for, you know, the deposit, first month rent and things like that. And I felt like I didn't know who to turn around to ask for help with these things. I worked so hard that summer. I've never worked so much in my life. Like, I did like 47 hours retail, right? I worked so hard, and ever since then I said I will never be that broke again in this life, and yeah, that has not been the case yet. So let's hope it continues. Touchdown. Ooh. But yeah, so that's just how it's been. So in terms of your experience, obviously you said that you went home, but you didn't realize. Well, I'm guessing, you know, even missing your mum, your dad, you're missing the hugs and all of that stuff, you still experience some sort of like homesickness.
Yeah, completely. It was a lot of it is like, it was the moments when like you weren't around your friends, you were just kind of having like a night into yourself, or like you were just like, you weren't really thinking about it. Because like when I was with my friends, I was at uni, I wasn't really thinking about like, oh, what are my parents doing? But it's like those moments when you're like at home, you're in your flat or whatever, like you're by yourself, that you're kind of like, oh, like if I was at home, I'd be doing this right now. And it was those moments that I was like, oh, I could really do with like a chat with my mum or something. And when my parents work so much as well, it was like I didn't have time during the day to like speak to them all the time. It was usually in the evenings, and it was when I would have those like catch ups. So I would FaceTime my dad all the time, and I had to teach him how to use FaceTime before I went, because he'd just not get technology. And for a good month, it was still just got the picture of the ear, because he just didn't understand how to put it like this. But it was those, and it was kind of like, I'll do like a big one with all the family at the end of the week, and it was like those were the points that I was like, oh, I wish I was home right now and doing it in person with my parents with a cup of tea, you know, that sort of thing.
Cute.
That was what I wanted, but I was like, you know.
That is so cute. Wow, it's been so lovely speaking with you. So one of my follow-up questions is, what would you advise yourself if you were to do university all over again?
I think get involved. I think it's one of the themes, like don't let anything hold you back. Like if you want to do it and your friends don't want to do it, go and do it, because you'll make other friends. Especially like in your first few months, like freshers are all in the same position. Everyone wants to make friends, everyone wants to do new things. Like people aren't going to turn away from you or be like, no, we don't want to be your friend. That's just not how it's going to happen. I think I was so worried that people were going to be like, oh no, you're by yourself, I don't want to be friends with you. But it was one of the best things I did, was kind of, my friends don't want to do it, okay, but I did, and I'm going to go do it. And that's one of the best things, is just to kind of, if it's something you want to try, just go and do it. Because you get to a point, like you'll get to your second year or you get to your third year, and if you didn't do it, you're going to be like, oh, and it's never too late. Like even my third year now, I've joined stuff this year that I didn't do in past years.
Exactly.
And even then, it's so many opportunities, so many new friends. And I think just don't let anything, if you want to try it, just go and do it. Like no one's going to tell you no. No one's going to be like, oh, don't want to be friends with you, especially in your first few months. Just do it. Try everything.
I love it. I love it. That is the best advice. I would definitely give the same advice. Just do it, okay, guys? If you want to try something new, if you want to, you know, join a club or society, just do it. Like if you want to create your own, just do it. You know, because university is literally what you make it at times as well. So yeah, thank you so much for being here today. It's been so great having you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So this is the second episode of Touchdown. Touchdown with Subu, aka Naomie Lebe, SU President. Yes, baby. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. See you next time.